Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Yacht Crew Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I am your host, and today I have a guest, Richard Hodder from Pelion Consulting. How are you?
Very good, thanks, Ria. Thanks for having me on again.
Well, you know what? It is imperative that we had you on today because we want to talk about the IMO 2021. It is, your yacht has to be compliant by January 1st, and it's like crickets across the industry. It's just tweeting in the background and nobody is actually paying any attention whatsoever. Do people realize how important this cybersecurity compliance is?
I still think at the moment there's still a lot of complacency. We've been talking about this now for 4 years since the IMO first released their mandate for recommendations on this, with compliance, as you know, by the 1st of January 2021. So, yeah, the message is out there, but yeah, still nobody's got anything done yet. And I think there'll be a mad rush come 1st of January when suddenly it's compulsory, but kind of, you know, the horse has already left the stable at that point, so to speak.
Well, what happens if they aren't compliant?
When the vessel next gets audited on its annual verification, then there's potential for fines. If vessels over 500 gross tons can't show that they've had or prove that they've had risk assessment done for cybersecurity on board and got an incident response plan, then there's potential for big fines, and that'll come from either the flag state or the port state.
So even if you don't care about your own cybersecurity, most of the ultra high net worth individuals that either run yacht charters or are owner operated boats, they care about the fines, and these fines aren't small.
No, they're not going to be small. They'll be in the tens of thousands potentially, and for the cost of getting the work done now, then you know, could be saving some money in the long run.
So why is it so important, your cybersecurity on board? Now, I know, you know, we've talked about it before, the simple fact that most of these people are doing business in a beautiful office building with security probably at the door, human security, as well as, you know, perhaps in New York City, you have metal detectors and everything else. Then on top of that, once, you know, you've got your server rooms, all of that stuff is protected, massive security. At home, I can guarantee you that they have security on their doors, security on their windows, motion sensors, and when it comes to their internet as well, they've got, you know, pretty good security. Why? When it comes to your yacht, because they are not stopping doing business. This type of individual never stops. If you're paying $150,000 to $500,000 per week to sit on a super yacht, if you're a yacht charter, or if you have a multi-million-dollar yacht yourself, you're doing business 7 days a week. Why are they not thinking about that when they're on board?
Absolutely, you're doing a business on board as well, likely. When you've got a yacht that's likely the size of a small village, the health and safety issues come in here because the systems on board are potential targets now. It's not just the IT side of things. And I think there's generally the complacency is that it won't happen to me, or is a disconnect from, you know, the reality that's out there. You're floating around on something the size of a small village worth hundreds of millions of pounds, but still, yeah, it doesn't come into people's minds that will happen to me on this occasion. You know, it's something that happens somewhere else or to someone else. And fortunately, we've not seen any incidents happen in the yachting sector. But it's only a matter of time before something big does happen and there's an accident offshore on one of these yachts caused by somebody hacking into systems on board and doing damage. So, yeah, I think once the regulations come in on the 1st of January, then there's going to be a big kick up the backside for crews, management companies, people who are managing the yachts themselves. And this applies not only to the yachting sector, but also the shipping industry in general. So the maritime industry has quite a bit of catching up to do to get compliant. And there's not even compliance. Cybersecurity is nothing new. The mandate's been there for 4 years already, but, you know, ever since we've had technology, internet connections, the threat of a cyber attack on board has been there. It's just not been realized or is not seen or thought about by the people managing these boats.
Well, and I think what people don't understand is that the nature of a hacker, they're not necessarily up to something nefarious. Of course, there is that possibility. They could be trying to target your bank accounts. They could be trying to kidnapping, which has happened before, but it could just be some kid sat in Eastern Europe or China or New Zealand or wherever in the world thinking, what am I going to do today? Let's have some fun. And really, that's the nature of a hacker's brain sometimes. It's just, let's see if I can do it and what the results will be.
Absolutely, and if there's a way into a particular system, then these guys are going to find a way. But usually, when we're looking at the yachts, the threat is going to be a lot higher than somebody giving it a poke. There's going to be organized attempts to attack something on the vessel, be it for financial gain, espionage, whatever the intentions are. And with the high net worth individuals on these yachts, whether they're guests or owners, they're the potential target. And like we've mentioned before, you could effectively ransom the whole boat with the systems that are on board, the way they're connected, which doesn't bear thinking about at the end of the day. So time and effort will go into hacking one of these. And if you're a target, the hacker or the group of hacktivists will take time to study the target, get the information they need, and could potentially take a year before they do the main job on the yacht. So it's it's an interesting scenario on both sides.
Well, I mean, realistically, we all have our computers open, we have our phones, etc. A hacker can easily hack into that and just idly watch you through your computer. If you've left it, if it's a desktop, if it's a laptop and you've left it open, you might not even know, because we tend to think that if that green light is on, that means the camera's on. But just because that green light is off doesn't mean that somebody isn't watching your every single move and recording it.
Absolutely, and laptops are one thing, smart TVs are another thing. Certainly, there's been incidents in the cruise line and hotel industries where people have hacked the TVs and they've been able to watch people in certain rooms, which is absolutely horrifying when you think about it. There's a level of intrusion into our lives that really needs, if it's left unchecked, then where does it stop? So health and safety, our own privacy, which at the end of the day, all this technology, all these connected devices are effectively an invasion of our privacy if we're not keeping a balance and checks on what's going on. And if we know what is actually happening when we install a new device, be it a TV, your laptop. So yeah, it certainly needs a careful eye over it.
Well, let me ask you, I mean, we are 2 months out. How long would it take you to do an average size yacht? You say a 60 meter. How long would it take you to make sure that is cybersecurity compliant?
I mean, we're looking at a week to 2 weeks maximum, so not long. And, we've got a great team of specialists here that can help out and ensure the right things are put in place to ensure compliance. And it just starts with the risk assessment on board. All the systems on board, whether they're connected, if they are connected, how do they connect? And then just looking at those, what's the likelihood of somebody getting into one of those systems, causing damage, breaking into a stabilizer system, for example, because the vendor's not using a VPN to monitor that, and it's just a raw connection over the internet. What is the likelihood of somebody getting into that? What's the risk if they do? Might cause some discomfort to passengers. And the idea is you drop the risk by putting in procedures and mitigations in place to enhance the security posture of the boat and ultimately reduce the risk of an attack on the boat or the various systems.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure exactly how many yachts there are on the face of the planet, but when you consider there's probably only about 5% that have gone through this, and the amount of companies that are capable of going in and doing the IMO 2021, and we are only 2 months out, it takes you 1 to 2 weeks to do a risk assessment. There's going to be a lot of people that are really hurting come January because they're all going to be looking to get this done, and there's not a lot of companies out there that are capable of doing it.
Absolutely, and the key thing as well that the auditors that come in to do the risk assessment are independent to anything happening on the yacht at the moment. So there's a few companies at the moment, I believe, talking about the IMO regulations, and rightly so, but it does require an independent verification on that risk assessment and incident response plan. So there's no conflict of interest between a party that, say, manages the IT on board. If they find an issue, okay, maybe we can patch this up instead of reporting it properly through the appropriate channels and improving it in a methodical way. And of course, this needs to be revisited every year as well, because the network, the systems, the people on board change. So you get the first report, and a year later then you get a comparison on that as well, and just to keep everything in check, ensure there's no vulnerabilities that have creeped in with new devices. So it's an ongoing process, and yeah, it does need to be independently verified.
Well, you know what, we're going to make sure to provide all your details underneath this interview because I hate to harp on about it, but we are nearing the end of October. You've got November and December, and it's got to be done. So if you are, you're in Mallorca, but you can do anywhere in Europe, correct?
Correct, yeah. And we can, with our partners in the US and Caribbean, we can also cover US and Caribbean, because obviously mindful that quite a few yachts are heading that way for the Caribbean season, if all being well over there. But yep, certainly the Mediterranean is covered. And we can move.
Wonderful.
Quickly.
Well, we'll make sure to put that information because, it's got to be done. There is no choice that it has to be done. And the last thing, especially after this season, that any yacht owner wants is to have their boat sitting there non-compliant, waiting for someone to come on board and make sure that the risk assessment is done. You can't leave it that late. And yacht management companies, they got to pay attention to this because that is their responsibility to arrange for this.
Absolutely, and now's the time. Well, a year ago was the time, but yeah, working with the management companies as well, we can certainly help and ensure that we get ahead of the game come the 1st of January. There will be some leeway, but the best peace of mind is to have everything done as much as possible by the 1st of January and avoid those fines that will be coming.
Well, and right now, most governments straight across the face of the planet are happy to fine because all the money that they can get into the government coffers are probably very happily received.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, everyone's desperate at the moment in that respect. So yeah, let's say if it can be avoided, then yeah, let's avoid it at all costs.
Right. Well, once again, you have been listening to Richard Hodder from Pelion Consulting in regards to the IMO 2021. Do get a hold of him if you are anywhere in Europe, the US, or the Caribbean, and get this done because you've got 2.5 months, just under 2.5 months to get her done. You don't want the fines because that's going to be way more expensive in the long run. And you want to make sure that, at the end of the day, it's a small price to pay to make sure that your guests, your family, your friends, everybody on board is safe, not only financially, but, as well, even down to the systems on board and safety's sake as well. So,
after
thank
this
you very much.
Let's get 2021 on to a good start and have a good year next year.
I think we've had enough in 2020 to, make us take a breath for the next 20 years or so at least. We don't want another repeat. So let's get it all started properly and enjoy 2021.
For sure.
Thank you, Richard. Once again, you have been watching another episode of Yacht Crew Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I have been your host. Please tune in again for another episode.